Summer, I spent the majority of my time bored in the low parts of Washington. People my age, I just had the same obligatory post in my news. Oh my God, it's summer! Yay! This, accompanied with the sad but true stereotype, teenagers, Tumblr, hot here. You see, for those who don't know, a Tumblr is a blogging website used to share quotes, stories, pictures, and music with those who follow your account. Now afterwards, I spread the news to all of my family and friends so that they could follow me too. But when I first mentioned Tumblr, they stopped and they told me a hipster. Upon hearing this, I was extremely offended, and I insisted that I was not a hipster. I'm not. But then I realized something. I had no idea what in God's name a hipster was. And personally, whenever I call something I've never heard before, I like to Google it and figure out whether or not I should have punched them in the face. And so, as my painfully slow internet connection took 5 minutes to load a Google search, I sat back and I wondered, what does this strange accusation mean? Stories, pictures, and music? One who steers from the mainstream by choosing a less popular social networking site like Tumblr? I soon came to discover that it was, in fact, a clean mixture of both. In a Time magazine article from 2009, hipsters were described as the people that stop at you for liking Coldplay. Those who wear t-shirts with ironic slogans like it ain't easy being cheesy or stay on the drugs. And those who deliberately give off the vibe that they just don't care. When searching for a description of hipsters almost anywhere in the world, especially the internet, the response is almost always hated. So what could have possibly turned an entire generation against a subculture based on its music taste? Who would hard know? Now you see, this, along with many things, can be determined by looking at the past, the present, and the future of the contemporary subculture that is hipster. The term hipster dates back to the 1940s and 50s during the jazz age. These hipsters would listen to music, throw swinging jazz parties, and use the term hip to describe everything new, enjoyable, and cool. So those who disapproved, and the elderly, would look down upon them and call them those back-burned hipsters in a derogatory and ignorant sense. As we continue on with their rebellious ways, the hipsters soon grew to call themselves hipsters too. Eventually, these hipsters evolved into the beatniks, who evolved into the peaceful hippies that we know and love today. However, much like any musical subgenre, or creature from a horror film, within the next 50 years, hipster culture began to undergo a revival of sorts. In the mid to late 1990s, a new fashion trend grew in American culture, known as emo. Now, many people today will associate emo culture with dark, gothic, depressing music and attitudes. A lot of things can change within 15 years. With bands like Jimmy Eat World and Weezer rising in popularity, fans of this type of music eventually grew to, for some reason, adapt to a lifestyle completely different than what musicians portray. For example, here's a picture of the front end of Weezer, Rivers Emo. Now, see, look very closely, and you'll see that they don't look alike in any way, shape, or form. Now, something must have happened that caused of purist in appearance. In fact, it was. Originally, emo began with a messenger deck, eyeliner, a white belt, and a portable CD player, Green Day's Dookie. Now we can start to see some similarities. Eventually, a strange new breed of people began overpopulating New York City and smashing pumpkin concerts. They didn't have pop punk in their iPods, but instead obscure, independently produced folk rock music and bands like Sonic Youth. And not only did they have their own obscure taste in music, but they would tend to look down upon those who didn't share the same views and call them closed-minded. Now the rest of the world was mystified and slightly lewd. It wasn't long until these people found a name of their own, and all now in the present as hipsters. And you see, this actually makes sense, because while the hipsters in the thing, whatever we want, do whatever we want, is sort of a rebellious type of way, these hipsters were listen to you've never heard of, do whatever seems pretty chill to me, I don't care, type of way. Now many people were still confused, and actually a bit more irritated, but it wasn't long until Robert Lampkin cleared everything up by publishing the Hipster Handbook in 2003. A 169-page guide to hipster culture, the satirical yet informative book describes everything that the average American needs to know, including a lexicon of frequently used words and phrases in the hipster vocabulary, such as deck, meaning cool, thin, meaning not cool, and kale, which meant money for some reason. However, these words have little to no use today, seeing as how the hipster vocabulary has evolved ever so much since then. Now we have words like chill, alt, and relevant. Chill means being easygoing, relaxed, and all-around informed of the hipster culture. One can be riding chillways when chill, or considered a pro for being chill. Relevance refers to a musical artist or genre that is still worth paying attention to, which is very important for artists trying to grow in popularity. Some bands try to stay relevant by doing something as outlandish as changing genres completely, doing it all, simply because. Which brings us to arguably the most important term in hipster culture, alt. Alt means, for all intents and purposes, to be different, or alternative from the norm, yet hipsters in general. Those who are alt try as much as possible to show how much they contrast from the more popular, better-known mainstream. Sometimes they tend to use irony to portray how much they contrast from the mainstream. However, this view of irony has been twisted so often in the past few years that things which make no sense to literally anybody at all should be considered ironic. For example of this irony, some people are so alt, they have no idea how alt they really are. For example, let's take a look at the three most alternative men of all time. The third most alt man of all time was George Harrison, the Beatles' lead guitarist. While not truly a hipster at heart, Harrison was not part of the legendary McCartney-Lennon writing team. He did not have a wacky name or nose, and he sang the third fewest Beatles song, not the most and not the least, both of which would have been considered way too mainstream. Harrison also converted to Hinduism in the 1960s, before it became popular for musicians to convert, such as Bob Dylan, who has converted so many times in the past decade that he quite possibly believes that Christianity and Judaism are the same thing. The second most alternative man alive is Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars. A popular musician, along with part-time filmographer and actor, amongst the films Leto has appeared in, he's had his face destroyed by an axe wielded by Christian Bale in American Psycho, he's had his face smashed in by Edward Norton in Fight Club, and he portrayed a heroin addict in Requiem for a Dream, the latter of which he received 8 award nominations for Best Actor, none of which he even came close to winning. Now you see, this is of note due to his most acclaimed roles, including him being physically injured in one way or another. And appearing in a movie unmarked is so mainstream. I mean, that's how Brad Pitt got popular. Come on. And the most alternative man of all time is so ridiculously, horrifyingly alternative, no one's ever even heard of him. Lucky Dobson. Now you see, Jerry Leonard is a perfect example of the alternative chill bro. But if one were to confront a modern hipster, they would most likely scold him for being a sellout or too mainstream. Now, this is just a burden that many successful indie people or artists are going to have to deal with, which is involuntarily becoming a part of the mainstream. Those who are mainstream indie, or indie, have been experiencing a surprising surge in popularity in the past few years. Popular musical festivals like Bonnaroo and Coachella have featured such indie bands as Animal Collective, Kings of Leon, and Arcade Fire, the latter of which generated much controversy in February 2011 when they won the Grammy Award for Album of the Year. The majority of the people at the ceremony had never even heard of them, including the presenter, who called them the suburbs. And you see, every generation, we experience a new rift in society. The hippies of the 60s, the punks of the 70s, the glamorous androgyny in the 80s, all of which has revolved around music. And hipsters are no different. People look down upon hipsters as intolerant, pretentious jerks, but they disregard the fact that previous generations have been the same way for decades. Now this brings us to the future of hipsters. Whether you like it or not, some dismay and to others' joy, hipster culture will most likely die out within the next 10 years. Indie music will manage to stay the same, but some other genre and respective subculture will take its place. And people in the future will also learn to truly love and appreciate hipsters. I mean, this is what happened with the hippies. They're almost universally despised by their own generation, but the next one just can't get enough how cool they were. Now, recently, I began to consider the fact that I myself might actually be a hipster. I mean, the past 5 times that I've received money has been spent on Starbucks. I began wearing a scarf even though the low last weekend was 110. And half of my music library contains artists my friends have never even heard of. I mean, tell me, there's got to be someone in here who's sort of bogey bear, sleepwalkers, girls, ladies, 2 beats. Regardless, I've come to appreciate hipsters as truly beautiful people. I mean, if every generation has that group we won't learn to appreciate until later, why not take initiative and embrace it now, like I did? Because before I left DC this past summer, my brother and I drove all the way down to Columbia, Maryland, to see Animal Collective live at Merriweather Coast Pavilion. And you see, that was actually really ironic, because Animal Collective's last album actually called Merriweather Coast Pavilion. It's like ironic. I guess some people just don't get it, man.